So many years ago, when I was a young, naive business school student at UCLA, fresh out of the military, ready to take on the corporate world, I remember my business mentor calling me up one day, excited for me to meet someone. Tay, remember you told me you wanted to meet some real successful entrepreneurs? Those who've made it? Well, I have just the guy. I have known him for years, and in his line of business, he is the man. He not only has an incredible business that is thriving, but he's one of the most stand-up guys I know. There is so much you can learn from him. And my mind started immediately racing. I'm thinking a tech startup founder, maybe a Hollywood producer, definitely someone driving a Ferrari, living in Beverly Hills, the whole business success story. So I showed up at the designated location, very excited to meet this guy. Who cares if the address was some random warehouse in downtown LA I've never heard of? I'm sure he's got a really good reason. And a good reason it was, because that was actually the guy's warehouse. A place where he kept his millions of, are you ready for it? Buckets. That is right. That day, I was being introduced to the bucket king of the Western United States. Apparently, this guy distributed pretty much every bucket you've ever seen west of the Mississippi. Industrial buckets, restaurant buckets, janitorial buckets, you name it. It came through this guy. And he had apparently made hundreds of million dollars doing so. Now, the meeting went on and I was as courteous as I could be, but I would be lying if I didn't admit to the fact that I was a bit disappointed. Having been exposed to sexy business ideas and famous entrepreneurs through all my business school classes, I, as with all my other classmates, were enamored with glamorous entrepreneurs with venture capital stories and IPO dreams. However, this guy, the bucket guy, was so far from what I've been learning through books up to that point. I walked away from that meeting thinking my mentor had wasted my time. And I spent the next several years chasing what I thought were sexy business ideas and better ways to make money. Trendy business concepts, private equity, anything that would sound impressive at school parties. However, what I didn't realize then, and what took me years to understand, was that I had just met someone who understood one of the most important secrets about wealth building. That when it comes to building lasting wealth, boring completely trumps trendy and sexy. And what I also realized since that meeting was that he was not alone. There's an entire world of secret millionaires out there, and they're hiding in the most unexpected places. First, let's take a look at the world of boring businesses. And I call it a secret world because they're hiding in plain sight and all of us walk right past it without giving it a second thought. Think about it. Every single day, you encounter products and services that someone somewhere is making millions from. But because they're so ordinary, so mundane, we never consider them as wealth-building opportunities. Take buckets for example. You see them everywhere. Restaurants use them for cleaning, construction sites use them for mixing materials, and janitors for mopping floors. But did you ever think about who makes them? Who distributes them? My bucket king understood something that I didn't. Someone has to supply the world's buckets, and that someone can build serious wealth doing it. Or there is this other gentleman who I recently read about in the Wall Street Journal article. This gentleman named Derek was in a niche industry that no one knew about, but he was making a killing. His company specialized in making equipment that ripped up carpeting in elementary schools, and he was raking in $50 million a year. Apparently, building a business around something most people find mind-numbingly boring, such as carpet removal, can be quite profitable. And then there's this other gentleman named David who built a $800 million empire selling, are you ready for it? Car floor mats. That is right. The floor mat within our car that we give no second thought about when we step into our fancy cars. Yes, none of these businesses sound like out of this world sexy. There is no mention of artificial intelligence, launching rockets to space, or doing a billion-dollar IPO. However, the beauty of these businesses is that they solve real problems with real products. And because they're so ordinary, most people completely overlook them. Thus, while most aspiring entrepreneurs are trying to build the next Facebook or create a revolutionary app, fortunes are being made on buckets, dirty carpets, and floor mats. Alright, but this begs the question. Do you need to build a boring business in order to build wealth? It might seem like that is the direction I'm going with this in this video, but that is absolutely not the case. This is just one example of building wealth. Let me show you another way many people have built wealth, this time by leveraging their boring careers. However, before we go there, I want to share with you a free tool I think you'll find really valuable in your financial wealth journey. So in the course of my content creation journey, I've had the good fortune of interacting with hundreds, if not thousands of people about money. And do you know what I noticed through all these interactions? That we all have different natural strengths when it comes to money. Some of you are amazing at tracking every penny in your bank account. Others, not so much. However, you have other money strengths like being able to systematize your whole money process or having the patience to not panic during market crashes. Which is why I created the Money Superpower quiz to help you identify exactly what your best financial strengths are. Once you've identified them, you can lean into those strengths and build a wealth strategy that actually works with your natural tendencies. The whole quiz takes just a few minutes, and when you're done, you'll get a personalized roadmap showing you exactly how to best leverage your unique money superpower. It's my small gift to you for spending your precious time admiring my ridiculously amazing hair every week. So go to the link in the video description below and take the quiz today. Alright, with that, let's get back to the video. This section, I like to call the secret world of boring careers. Careers that will make you yawn when you hear them, but have been just as effective in producing their own set of millionaires. Back in 2018, Dave Ramsey and his team conducted the largest survey of millionaires by surveying over 10,000 real millionaires in the United States. And do you know what they found? The fact that the vast majority of wealthy people were not business owners at all. Actually, many were employees. They were very regular people working regular jobs. However, the key difference about them from everyone else was this. They figured out the same secret as the Bucket King, that boring wins. And to prove that boring truly wins, let's review the top 5 careers that produce millionaires according to the study. Number 1, we have the very boring engineers. That is right, not tech CEOs or software startup founders. Regular engineers designing bridges, managing manufacturing processes, solving everyday problems. They're the people who make sure your water flows when you turn on the tap and your light works when you flip the switch. Number 2, the career that literally defines boring. The accountant. And no, I'm not talking about the Ben Affleck accountant that takes down bad guys on the weekends. These are real accountants that process payroll, manage budgets, and file tax returns. Number 3 on the list, we have teachers. Yes, that is right, teachers. The profession everyone says is underpaid, and seeing how hard they work in teaching my own kids, rightly so. But here is how amazing they are. Despite a third of them having never made 6 figures in a single year, many are able to quietly build wealth. Number 4 on our list, we have management. And I'm not talking about C-suite executives with corner offices and stock options. These are mid-level managers, team leaders, unit managers, regional supervisors. The people who run departments, oversee projects, and keep the organization functioning. And number 5, we have attorneys. But not the celebrity lawyers you see on TV or the partners at white shoe law firms. Regular attorneys handling wills, real estate deals, business contracts, and family law. Notice what's missing from this list? Investment bankers, tech entrepreneurs, crypto millionaires. Nowhere to be found. It's not that they don't exist. It's that contrary to what the media shows, they only represent a small fraction when compared to the majority of millionaires out there. And here's another very surprising statistic. Based on the study, only 31% of these millionaires average $100,000 per year over their entire careers. That's right, 1/3 never made 6 figures in any single year of their working life, yet they were able to build sustainable wealth. So the big question is this, how were they able to do it? What is a common strategy that enabled these boring entrepreneurs and boring professionals to build wealth while everyone else is chasing their tails going after the hottest money-making trends? Let's get into that next. Let's delve deeper into what I like to call the 5-part boring wealth playbook. Whether they're business owners selling buckets and floor mats, or employees working as engineers and teachers, all these quiet millionaires share the same fundamental approach to building wealth. And what is most interesting is that it is the complete opposite of what we see glorified on social media and in the financial press. While crypto influencers are showing off their Lamborghinis and riding high on emotion, while tech startup founders are burning through venture capital money with 90% failure rates, while real estate gurus are selling courses, while their own properties are completely over-leveraged, while day traders are posting screenshots of their wins but never their catastrophic losses, these stealth millionaires, both business owners and employees, are quietly following a completely different playbook, the 5-part boring wealth playbook. Part 1, when it comes to business idea or a career, they pick something boring but necessary. For business owners, they found something unglamorous but people need in order to function in today's society. Remember the businesses that these boring but wealthy entrepreneurs were in? Buckets, floor mats, carpet removal equipment. Definitely not ideas that will turn heads at parties, but something people need. Their primary goal was not to own the sexiest business, rather the most profitable. For professionals, they pursue careers that on surface may sound boring, but essential in today's economy. Engineers will always be needed for infrastructure. Accountants will always be needed for finances. Teachers will always be needed for education. These jobs are not exciting, but they're stable, well-paying, and provide consistent value to society. The key insight is this: boring and essential beats flashy and sexy over the long run. Part 2. Once you picked a boring industry or profession, carry on that boring to your personal life and live a boring lifestyle. And this applies whether you're making millions from floor mats or earning $80,000 as a teacher. I believe that the basic lifestyle principle should be the same. And the principle of a boring lifestyle is very simple. 1. Live below your means by controlling your biggest expenses, such as housing, transportation, and food. 2. Stay away from debt as much as possible. And 3. Invest the difference in boring and proven investments. We'll talk about that more in a bit. The main takeaway here is that your lifestyle should never expand faster than your income as it grows. These boring stealth millionaires understand that wealth is not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. And staying in the line of focusing on what you keep, let's talk about part 3 to help you do just that. Part 3. When it comes to the most important metric when it comes to building wealth, focus on net worth, not income. When it comes to building wealth, too many of us focus on the income part of the formula. Only if I can make 20% more, 50% more, or maybe if I can double my income, it would really supercharge my path to wealth. However, how does that work out for most people? Unfortunately, not well. Because here's what typically happens. As income increases, lifestyle expenses increase right with it, sometimes even faster. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it's the silent wealth killer that keeps even the highest earners broke. Here is the fundamental truth if you want to build true wealth. Your net worth is what matters, not your income. Essentially, your assets minus your liabilities. Because unlike income, which stops when you stop working, net worth, if your assets are invested, will work for you 24/7, continuously compounding. So if you're not tracking your net worth right now, do that immediately. List out all your assets, essentially everything you own, then subtract all your liabilities, everything you owe to someone else. Then track it religiously. And what you will notice start to happen is that your behavior will naturally gravitate towards increasing that net worth number as much as possible by either optimizing your lifestyle or investing more in appreciating assets. As Peter Drucker, the famous management guru, once said, "What gets measured gets managed." Alright, but apart from living a boring lifestyle, what is one of the most effective ways to increase our net worth? Let's cover that next. Part 4. When it comes to investing your money, embrace the boring investment strategy. Again, in the theme of sexy, when it comes to investing, too many of us pursue what is the loudest, what is the most visible, and what is the most appealing investment strategies out there. However, do you know what the wealthy, all the boring wealthy individuals invest their money in? The most boring investment strategy possible. Think company 401ks, low-cost index funds, and for some that are a bit more risky, real estate assets. There is no crypto trading, no option strategies, no penny stock or hot IPOs. Just boring, well-diversified, low-cost investing that has worked for decades. And it's not just these boring millionaires that are saying these. Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful and wealthiest investor, has also advocated for investing in the boring. He has said multiple times that low-cost S&P 500 index funds will outperform most professional money managers over the long term. Thus, he's instructed that his wife's inheritance be invested in index funds, saying, "I believe the trust long-term results from this policy will be superior to those attained by most investors." Bottom line, these boring millionaires understand something that day traders and crypto enthusiasts don't. Slow, boring, and mundane takes sexy, fast, and exciting to the cleaners in the world of investing. But it's not enough to just invest in the boring. We need one more piece of this formula to complete the set, which takes us to the final part of this boring wealth building playbook. Part 5. If you want to truly build lasting wealth, you have to play the long game. You have to embrace the fact that this is going to take decades, not weeks or months. And let me be blunt here. This might be the most crucial part of the formula, but this is also where most people fail. Why? Because we're naturally impatient beings. We live in a world of instant gratification where we expect everything to happen fast. We want our food delivered in 30 minutes, our packages in 2 days, and our investment returns in 2 weeks. But wealth building does not work that way. The boring millionaires understand something fundamental. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, but it only works if you give it time, and a lot of time. Think about it this way. If you invest $500 a month in a boring S&P 500 index fund, earning an average of 8% annual return, after 10 years, you would have about $91,000. Not bad, but not life-changing. After 20 years, $294,000. Getting better. But here's where the magic happens. After 30 years, you have over $745,000. And if you kept going for 40 years, over $1.7 million. That is the power of playing the long game. The first decade feels slow, the second decade feels better, but it is in those final decades where compound interest really takes off and does the heavy lifting for you. That is if you're willing to be boring and wait. You have to embrace the fact that financial success will not come from pivoting to the next shiny object or chasing market timing. It comes from finding something that worked and sticking with it through multiple economic cycles, market crashes, and changing trends. But I know what you're thinking at this point. That sounds so mundane, so slow, so boring. I can't make Instagram reels about that. How do you expect me to make a TikTok reel about my boring day in the life of an accountant, maxing out my 401k, or waiting a decade for compounding to work in my favor? That is so embarrassing. Everyone will think I'm so dull and boring. Well, do you know what I would say to that? Forget Instagram, forget TikTok. Forget your friends who think you're boring for maxing out your Roth IRA. Because while they're out there chasing after the latest hot trends, not making any progress, you're actually building wealth. And in the end, that is all that matters. So next time you're feeling down because someone said your life is so boring, remember this quote from yours truly. Boring is beautiful. Thank you guys for watching. The theme of being boring. If you want to learn why I personally consider myself the boringest man in the world, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.